Hey guys, listen up.
This is the SEC Insider Hit, powered by Miss Kelly Furniture, Mississippi's number one sleep store.
That music is terrible. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I feel like I'm going to a Jane Fonda workout in 1982. Our guests join us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Bundle your car and home and save with any Farm Bureau Insurance agent in the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi. We welcome in Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN. Lugs will join us throughout football season. He joins us on a Thursday today. Lugs, good morning. Where are you, buddy?
I am home right now, and I'm on the way to introduce my son on how to go get his oil changed. So we've already done the tire change process, and now we're in the oil change process and all the little things as you become a man that you got to start to learn.
Okay, how's it going? How's the process, as Nick Saban would say?
Good. Yeah, no, really good. Yeah, really, really good. I'm very fortunate because he's a pretty conscientious kid. So he kept telling me, he's like, Dad, my sticker's telling me I'm within like 1,000 miles. I'm like, we're good, dude. Dad, my sticker's telling me it's about 500 miles. I'm like, all right, let's go ahead and get this thing. Get this done.
Well, so is he a senior?
He'll be a senior this fall, yeah.
Okay. All right. Have they started school or no?
No, they haven't started school, but they've been in fall camp since, the last week of July. They start school a little late. They had their first game last week, which I actually got to see, which is rare. And then they have another game coming up this week, which I get to see as well. So I get 2 games. So if you add that up for 4 years, I've seen 2, 4, 6. I've seen 8 games in 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you watch the live stream when you're traveling, or how does that work? Do y'all do live streaming?
I try to, yeah. Yeah, if it doesn't interrupt with our production meeting that is often Friday nights, I definitely will try to, and then he and I will watch some huddle tape here and there and get a look at it, and but he's having a good time, man. It goes, as everybody knows, and you have older kids, it goes fast. Like everybody tells you that, you don't realize it until it happens to you.
I know. Mine are freshmen and sophomores in college. I'm an empty nester.
Oh. I'm actually looking forward to that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad deal. It's not. Okay, so has he decided where he's going to school?
He has not. He's probably going to have a couple of opportunities as a preferred walk-on at some Group of 5 and Power 5 schools to potentially earn a scholarship, and then he's got some FCS scholarship opportunities. He's a long snapper, so he's kind of devoted himself to that craft, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but he's put himself in position for it to work out, so we'll see what happens.
Good. I hope everything lines up. That's awesome. Senior year. Tom Luginbill on the Out of Bounds show. I want to start today with Texas and Texas A&M. We've got a great source over there in College Station that says that Bobby Petrino is calling the plays, that he is calling the plays. So, if he's calling the plays, they're going to win this year. Now, they may not be great, but they can't help but be good if he's calling the plays this year, in my opinion, because Durkin is definitely, he may not be elite, but he's a good DC. Is that how you see it if Petrino does call the plays, Luke?
Yeah, and it's not just the calling of the plays. It's also running his offense. Yeah, I think that's the other thing in all of this is I don't think he would agree to come in there and do that if it wasn't the scheme that he's developed for the past 4 years. And so I think it's a combination of not only him calling the plays and running the offense, but it being his offense. And listen, if this ends up being the switch that needed to be flipped, they're going to be really good because they've got players, man. Their recruiting classes the last 2 to 3 years have been fantastic. They played with a ton of true freshmen on defense, particularly in the defensive front, and they were all guys that everybody in the country was recruiting and chasing after, and they got them. So, they're not going to have any excuses for a lack of talent. They've got talent. So, if this move ends up working out, then they're going to have the players to pull it off. And I think that's why they're kind of sitting there and everybody's talking about LSU, and that's fine, and everybody's talking about Alabama's quarterback situation, and I know A&M's quarterback situation isn't quite settled yet, at least not that I know of, but I think that Jimbo Fisher has this team in a good spot where nobody's talking about him, right? It's kind of like Clemson in the ACC. Like, Dabo's over there going, yeah, just keep talking about Florida State. Keep talking about North Carolina. We'll just sit over here and we'll do our thing. That's kind of how he wants it. That's how A&M is right now.
And the Miami game, we've talked about it earlier, but in week 2 at Miami, that could be a telltale. I know Miami's not that good, but they've recruited well. They just can't. They're kind of like A&M. They can't win on the field,
Yeah. And, it won't be a hostile environment unless somehow out of nowhere a bunch of Texas A&M fans make that trip, which it could be the case. Miami's got 10 starters back on defense. They've got 2 or 3 guys on the defensive front that are really, really good. The questions on Miami are going to be more about how quickly does Tyler Van Dyke and Coach Dawson, their new offensive coordinator, how does that get implemented quickly? So very similar to what's happening at A&M, which could make for a lot of intrigue in that game.
Yeah. Okay. And then Texas, they're due. They have more talent than anybody in the league. Oklahoma's second, but they trump everybody by a sizable gap. Kwiatkowski, I just don't think he'll allow them to lose. Even though Sark's not a good head coach, he's a good OC, but he doesn't. I guess he can't figure out the A to Z piece because this is his third stop. However, he might out-talent. I mean, if Ed Ogeron can do it and Les Miles Sark can do it, and Larry Coker and Chiswick. So,
yeah,
do you kind of get the sense, Luke, that Texas is due to finally not throw up on themselves and win at least a pretty high level this year?
If they can prove that they can handle success, that's been their problem. They'll go out and they'll look really good for 2 to 3 weeks in a row, and you'll think they're getting hot, and then all of a sudden, like you said, they'll throw up on themselves and they'll lose to somebody they're not supposed to, right? And it's as if the moment things start going good, they don't handle people talking good about them or a high level of publicity and adulation and pats on the back. They seem to be, they just buy into it. It's almost like it engulfs them. And if Sark can somehow get past that and they can not only win the games that, that maybe are a toss up or maybe even that they're not even expected to win, but then avoid, losing to Kansas or, losing to somebody that you can't lose to, right? I mean, it's kind of that simple for me. And you're right. This is the best roster and the best team they've probably had in well over a decade, I would say. And, I think seeing how the quarterback evolves is going to be interesting as well, because the quarterback was very up and down, although he's very talented, but he was very up and down last year. And if he comes into his own, then they're going to be really good. They will be the best team on the field, except for the Alabama game.
Except for the Bama game, which for our listeners is week 2, Texas at Bama. And y'all all remember last year it took Bryce Young heroics for Bama to win, and Ewers got knocked out in, I think, the middle of the second quarter, somewhere around there. And they were trending the right way and went in and all that. Are you you seem kind of still you need to see more, but you may not. Are you buying Quinn Ewers, the Texas QB? Where are you with that, Luke?
Yes and no. And I might have had a bit of a bad taste in my mouth because my experience last year was the Oklahoma State game. And things were not going well, and he didn't play bad, but he didn't play overly great either. And he had a body language issue on that day. And that stuff bothers the heck out of me at the quarterback position. And so I know he's talented. I think he's got the stuff to do it. I really do. I want to see him maintain more of an even keel in terms of, for example, that Oklahoma State game, things weren't great. And he kind of, when things went bad and went down, he went down. right? And that's I think the next step in his evolution. But I will say this, and I've defended him in this regard. People fail to realize that, yeah, you know the name Quinn Ewers, but you've also got to realize that he had not played in a football game in 2 years prior to starting last year, because he skipped his senior year in high school and then didn't play at Ohio State. So, he's really far removed from organized football. So, we got to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I don't understand skipping. You need to play. You need to play. You need to get the reps. Your senior, especially if you're a prospect, your senior year, anyway. All right. But he did look good at times. We'll see what Quinn Ewers is at Texas. If he's really good, then we may get a really good game in Bryant-Denny. It looks like Alabama. So here, I'm still not sure what's going to happen at Ole Miss. Dart, Sanders, how the season plays out. We'll see. They're both more than capable. We know who's going to be the starter at MSU and Will Rogers. I will say this, though. I talked to two people inside the building, Lugs, and they were blown away with what Mike Wright did. And you talk about this all the time, continuing to commit to the craft, get better. They were blown away with what Mike Wright did this summer as far as committing to throwing the football, learning the offense. They believe that if Will gets knocked out of a game, that this guy can win a game for them. He had nothing around him at Vanderbilt, and he's a big kid.
Right.
I saw him the other day
really
within about 20 feet of me. He's put on a ton of muscle. What do you think? I mean, I know you've seen him play a little bit, but what's your takeaway from what some of the people inside the building told me about him committing to his craft over the summer?
Well, yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And I think some of that stuff is just a level of maturity that it either will happen or it won't happen. And sometimes the light goes off and a guy realizes, you know what? I might be talented physically, but that's not all it takes. And I got to be willing to put in all of the other work and do all of the other things that are actually going to make me a great player or a good player. And, when he played at Vanderbilt, he was really young, kind of awkward, really good athlete. I don't know if he's a natural passer, but I think he can hone some of those things fundamentally. But if he's committing to learning the game and studying the game, then he's going to have a future of success.
Yeah. Tom Luginbill on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. So that takes me to Alabama. It looks like it's going to be Milroe. And who knows with Buckner and Simpson, that doesn't mean it's kind of like Ole Miss. It doesn't mean it's set in stone. But his ability to be a playmaker with his legs, I think sounds like it's trumping what everybody else brings to the table. And I don't blame Saban and Tommy Rees. Do you?
No, because that's the default, right?
Right.
Let's just say that all across the board, the guys made good plays, they made bad plays, they made reads, they missed reads, they protected the football, they turned over the football. Nobody took the reins, and nobody just was head and shoulders above the other. What do? You take the guy that makes you the most difficult to defend. I mean, that's the default, because all of those other guys are not going to be like a running back at the quarterback position to force defenses to say, oh boy, well, now we got to deal with this too. So that's kind of the move you have to make. And that doesn't mean that he'll go out and play great. It just means that it probably gives him the best chance until they know what he's going to do full time. And then if he doesn't play well full time and the mistakes start to supersede the athleticism, then you're probably going to have to make a change. I wouldn't be surprised if you see not just three guys. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Dylan Lonergan too. He'll go out there. He'll play them all.
Okay. Well,
if you're Sark, you got all these different quarterbacks on the field, and you're wondering which one do we prepare for?
Right. Boy, yeah, Kwiatkowski, or however you say his name, will have – of course, he's one of the best, as you know.
Kwiatkowski.
Yeah. He's top 5 dude. That's why Sark's got to win. I mean –
they don't have top 5 dudes on defense, though. They've got a couple, but they don't have too deep.
But in the Big 12, all right, take out the Bama game. Don't you think they've got more than Texas has more than enough dudes if they're?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. But I'm thinking college football playoff. I'm thinking to win a semifinal game. That's the difference between the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Ohio States and the Clemsons of the last 15 years.
Were you surprised Hugh Freeze named Peyton Thorne starting quarterback?
No, because I think that when you have a returning starter, all right, and I'm going to say this speaking from experience, because I transferred to Georgia Tech and they had a returning starter that had started 11 games the year before. And we battled and battled and battled. And I think, it was made clear to us that, okay, we understand you've played, all right, you've come in to compete, and we're going to chart every single thing that you do. And when I say chart everything, Bo, I'm talking about documenting every read, every pre-snap assessment, every post-snap progression. Did you throw the ball to the right guy? Did you complete the ball but that actually wasn't the right read? Right? Did you miss somebody that was open? Did you turn the ball over? Did you get out of a bad play and into the good play? And there's a GA or there's somebody with a board that is charting all of this throughout all of camp. And they're doing that for two reasons. They're doing it to see who has been able to sustain consistent performance, and they're also doing it so that when they bring those guys in the room and they have to make a decision, they're going to be able to put objective, documentable data in front of them. This is what you guys did. We charted all of it. And this is why we're leaning this way. And I would be shocked if it wasn't done that way there, because that's kind of what you do. And then, some days one guy gets the ones and other days that guy gets the twos, and you let them make sure they get their reps with all the best players, and then sometimes the twos and threes. So I think Peyton Thorne might have just beat out Robbie Ashford. And I'll say this. That doesn't mean Robbie Ashford's not going to play.
Right.
If you know Hugh Freeze, there's going to be some wildcat packages in that red area inside the 5-7 yard line. They're going to have some of that stuff on third and short. Like, I think that kid will play.
Okay. I agree with Ashford. He's going to play, may play a lot, kind of like Spencer Sanders. We'll see. Did you have an opportunity? Tom Luginbill on the Out of Bounds show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Driven by your next Nissan Pathfinder at Cannon Nissan in Jackson. Did you have an opportunity to watch Swamp Kings this week? Florida Gators, Urban Meyer?
You mean we're only making this documentary if Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer sign off on what's in it?
Yes.
I got through 2 episodes and I was like, enough of this.
Okay.
I'm not watching anymore. It was just like, this isn't a tell-all. This is fabricated to give the sense that it was the Wild Wild West, but never crossed the line, right?
Right.
But I will say this: the one thing I loved when I saw it, because I laughed, because if we tried to do that today, you'd get sued or fired. But like the off-season conditioning stuff with the mat drills and all of that stuff.
Right.
See, I love that stuff. That should be a part of football. That should be a part of off-season conditioning. There does need to be an element where you push guys so hard that you find out who's going to be left standing, right? We've gone so far removed from that now because we're so afraid of hurting people's feelings, or, now all of a sudden we're being too tough on them. All of this sort of thing. That it's supposed to be tough, and tough teams flourish, and you don't get tough by taking it easy. Like, I loved that aspect of it, and I thought Urban Meyer's approach was the correct one. And I think a lot of staffs, new staffs, have to go in and do that to weed through the herd and fin it, and now you have the transfer portal that gives them an opportunity to go somewhere. So you don't necessarily look like the bad guy who's running guys off. The guy makes the choice himself because he has somewhere to go.
Right. Yeah. Well, all right. So look, I thought it was entertaining. I mean, I'm desperate for anything that can entertain me until we get to somewhat this weekend.
It's better than the Johnny Manziel doc.
Yeah, although that was entertaining too. I know it didn't end well, and I know it didn't tell us everything. And look, you know this. The writers and producers can only do so much. It's all up to the Urbans and the Manziels and the Tebows and whoever you're profiling to give you, this, that, or whatever. And if they don't, then they don't. But where was I going with that? I was I'm just trying to get to Florida at Utah next Thursday night, Luke's.
You just needed something to hold you over.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tired of Netflix. I'm tired of Prime. I'm tired of Max, and I'm ready for football. Speaking of, do you know where you are first weekend?
I do, and I can't believe I'm having to tell you this, but we still haven't come out with a release with all of the assignments for week one, and I'm not allowed to say.
Okay.
Which is, usually we've done that a week ago, so I don't know what's taking so long. I'm assuming maybe it's going to be today or tomorrow. I really shouldn't do that on Friday, but so I don't know. Yes, I do know where I'm going. It is a very favorable, strong window.
Good.
It should be a good game too. Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, have fun with your son and the oil change. I'm glad you get to watch another high school football game for his senior year. And I can't remember what we decided on last Tuesdays. I think Tuesdays at 7:30 our time, 8:30 your time. Okay, great.
You got it, brother.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
All right, man. Thank you.
See ya. Tom Luginbill on the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. And that is brought to you by the Armory. That's right, the Armory in Ridgeland. How about this? It's Second Amendment tax-free weekend this weekend, Jason. And it's always a big, big week for the Armory on Lake Harbor in Ridgeland. So Mississippi's Second Amendment tax-free weekend, 26th and 27th, and the Armory is ready. Come take advantage of tax-free shopping and special discounts throughout the store. Hunting season is here, baby. And they have great deals on rifles at the Armory, ammo at the Armory, and optics to get you ready at the Armory, Lake Harbor and Ridgeland, right in front of Kroger, right across from Gateway Tire. So celebrate Second Amendment tax-free weekend at the Armory, Lake Harbor in Ridgeland. They've got great deals on rifles, ammo, and optics to get you ready for hunting season. Some of you men and women are double losing your mind because you got football and then dove season coming up. In, what are we, 9 days? 8-9 days? And a week from today, we have Florida at Utah. A week, Florida Gators, Utah Utes. And do you have that drop, Jason? I think we might have time. Dave Bartu has the best drop. Y'all may not know this, but Kyle Whittingham is the coach at Utah. He's done an amazing job. They won a ton of games the last 20 years. All right. He looks like he could bench press a house. This is Bartu on Kyle Whittingham.
Utah right now is posed to be an absolute monster because the Big 12 is not used to playing smash mouth football, and that's all Kyle Whittingham shows up to do. Drink beers and kick ass, and he is all out of beer in your stadium.
That was brought to you by an ice-cold Busch Light. That's right. So that's what Kyle Whittingham does. He drinks your beer and kicks your ass.
Drinks your beer. I love it.
Oh, here's to an ice-cold Busch Light. Later this afternoon, it's National Burger Month. Let's go ahead and give away a couple of $25 gift certificates to Burgers, Blues, and Barbecue, B3, in Madison and or Brandon. Shout out to B3, baby. Load that burger up with some good old boar's head cheese, boar's head bacon, avocado, and jalapenos. Ooh. Maybe a little Jonesy Q wow sauce. You know that's got a kick in it. It's also good in Tito's Vodka Bloody Marys. Good morning. Welcome in. I think we got Steve Palazzolo, NFL Insider, at 8:30.